Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Melanin Margin, the weekly chat show where conversations about race are never off the table. We're your hosts, Quaviondre Williams.
And Daquon Wilson.
Now, let's get into this week's conversation. What's hot on the table this week? As teacher shortages reach a breaking point across the country, many states have begun to relax qualification requirements for substitute teachers, such as Kansas's decision to lower the age to be a substitute teacher to 18. However, one decision that has caught extreme controversy was Oklahoma Republican Governor Kevin Stitt's executive order that allowed all state employees to substitute teach while retaining their salaries and benefits. In the weeks that followed, the Moore Police Department shared photos of their officers in Moore public schools. However, the post came with backlash, with concerned citizens questioning why these officers showed up armed and in uniform. Oklahoma Democratic State Senator Kerry Hicks called the decision a short-sighted solution to the challenges our schools have been facing for 22 months during the global pandemic. She goes on to state that we do not have an interchangeable workforce. The executive order shows a fundamental misunderstanding of the problem. It diminishes teachers' contributions and expertise in the field of education, undermines the safety of our classrooms, and ignores the complexity involved in educating a child. So, Daquon, I have to ask you, do you think that the decision to lower sub requirements and allow state personnel like cops to become substitutes is an effective solution to the teacher shortage?
Exasperated sigh. I think my lack of words at the moment speaks volumes to how I feel about this because it is crazy to think about having fully armed cops in a classroom. In fact, I am absolutely appalled at the idea of cops being fully armed and fully in uniform teaching students because regardless of how you feel about cops, it is jarring and completely unnerving having the teacher in front of you being armed with a gun, a taser, baton, mace, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we consider the communities that are statistically more likely to be affected by these teacher shortages, which are Black and Latinx communities,
Mm-hmm.
communities that need teachers the most, because we are talking about students who, time and time again, had to see people who look like them killed by the police. Students who grew up seeing Trayvon Martin, Eric Gardner, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Amir Locke, all of them
Mm-hmm.
unjustly killed. It is impossible to learn in an environment where you feel worried about if your name would be the next hashtag to add to the list.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more, Daquan. I am terrified for the Black students attending the classes of a school with armed police officers in full police uniform as substitutes. Uh, what's going to happen if a fight breaks out or an argument? Hell, what's going to happen if a Black student reaches into their backpack or pocket? Is the police officer going to suddenly magically see a gun? Is he going to fear for the lives of the white children in the classroom and decide to shoot first and ask questions later, to choke first and subdue the threat he believes Black people to be? And let's not forget that Oklahoma is not exactly a safe haven for police brutality. I
Not
mean,
at all.
in an article written on Oklahoma Watch by Whitney Bryan, we learned that Oklahoma City and Tulsa are among the deadliest cities in the nation for police killings. Not only that, but Oklahoma has nearly 13,000 full time and reserve officers, and just shy of 1,300 have been trained in crisis prevention, which means that fewer than 10% of officers are certified in de escalation and crisis prevention training. The odds of schools in Oklahoma receiving a police officer who has not been trained to deal with crisis prevention is a staggering 10 to 1 ratio, which only makes the likelihood of a Black life being unjustly lost that much greater. And can someone please explain to me how relaxing the qualifications for a substitute teacher makes the school any safer for the students attending? I mean, exactly how much are you relaxing the rules? Because there is a reason why there's a vetting process. It exists for a reason. It's supposed to keep the wrong people from being around impressionable children. It's sounding a lot more like creating dangerous problems than finding an adequate solution. I mean, what do you think, Daquon? Like,
I completely agree, especially when you consider that a large part of the police force have some type of relationship with domestic violence in terms of being the aggressors of domestic violence. I
yeah.
don't know the exact statistics, but I do know
Mhm.
that there are statistics out there that show that a large number of police officers either have admitted to domestically abusing a spouse, or even if they didn't admit to it, they have that kind of accusation on their heads anyway.
Mhm.
So I think that that by itself just rubs somebody the wrong way. And I also think that this is not a solution. This is
No.
not no type of effective solution. In fact, it actively diminishes the work that teachers do inside of the classroom. I feel like the greatest solution to the teacher shortage is, listening to teachers. And I come from the perspective of a former educator myself.
Mhm.
When I entered the classroom, before I even started meeting my students and teaching them, I created a vision statement. My vision was to be fearless in creating a welcoming, affirming community where students can learn and grow into their best selves. I was on a personal journey to become a transformative educator where I committed to teaching students not just how to survive, but how to thrive in a world that tells them that they can't and reassure them that they can. In
Mhm.
everything I wanted to do, I wanted to remember that education can be the site of radical liberation by those who have been pushed to the margins of society, an oppressive society. And I wanted to equip my students with the tools to be disruptors and change agents for equity
Mhm.
and justice. When I
Mhm.
was an educator, I was honored to have the privilege to change lives, and I brought my best self every single day. I
Mhm.
remained open to feedback. Tried every single learning opportunity in the book, and I did everything in my power to fight for our future. And frankly, it wasn't enough. In
Mhm.
fact, the things that I was told and the things that I was forced to do, I felt like was doing the exact opposite of my vision. I felt like what I was told to do was only perpetuating these systems of harm. And so if you're not listening to what teachers want in the classroom, whether it's, creating a welcoming, affirming environment for all students, not
Mhm.
just white cis het students, all black and brown, queer, everybody. Or whether it's, having livable wages so they're not working 2, 3 jobs on top of teaching, making sure that they have balanced lesson plans, making sure that they have time to just deal with the bodily functions. Like, I knew teachers who barely had time to just get a drink of water or go to the bathroom or even eat the entire day. And it's absolutely ridiculous because as a teacher, when the pandemic first started, everybody was like, "You're a hero. We love you. You're doing such great work." And then when teachers, you know, actually ask for things, when they demand change for justice, when they ask for basic human necessities, it's like, "Oh, you're being lazy. Oh, you want to leave the classroom? You're abandoning your students. You're failing your students," and all of this. And it's like, that is why there is a teacher shortage right now. That is why there are teacher unions across the country that are planning strikes and protests. It's
Mhm.
because these systems are not listening to teachers and treating them like human beings. So just to replace them with cops, if I thought I was doing harm just by what I was told, I can't even imagine the harm that this is doing to the students of our country.
Well said, Daquon. I think that I've always found it quite disturbing at how little respect we have for teachers in our society as a whole. Because teachers, especially the ones during the most formative years of growth, that's, K through 12, have a massive impact on the generation. On average, students spend about 7 hours a day at school, 5 days a week, not counting after school or extracurricular activities for 180 days a year. The fact that we don't pay teachers a higher salary or give them access to the necessary resources to create an amazing learning environment is baffling because most teachers teach because it's their passion. Yet we've created a society where that particular passion has a cap out point. And if they want to make any more money, they either have to make a second job or pursue alternative career options. The fact that they are just letting anyone step in to take care of their students who will inevitably shape our future, I mean, come on. Like, I just want to ask you, Daquan, do you think that having people that have no training, no experience with dealing with children diminishes the value of highly qualified teachers?
Absolutely. Because what this does is say, all we need is a body in the classroom. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
All we need is somebody to just babysit the students while they're there, and then we can move on. And I think that absolutely diminishes everything that a teacher does, from getting to know their students, building those relationships with not only these students, but the families,
Yeah.
creating complex lesson plans, differentiating instruction for different students' needs. That's not something you can just do with no type of training whatsoever. And even if you do have some type of formalized training, it's still not enough. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's one of those things where I feel like as a country in education, we are moving away from really solving the root of, problems in education, and just trying to create this cookie cutter standard education where it's just like, all right, we can take this curriculum, take a lot of scripted curriculum, which is being a lot more popular nowadays, and we can just give it to anybody, and that's going to solve all of our problems in education. No, we need highly effective teachers in the classroom who actually care about their students.
Exactly. And I think we get a little personal here. But I had a teacher in fifth grade who treated me like I was the scum of the earth. She emotionally abused me for all of my fifth grade year, and that abuse carried over to the students I was in class with when I got to sixth grade because they were the ones in fifth grade. Um, these years were a particularly dark point in my life, so low to the point where I thought the world would be better off without me. This teacher created a trauma within me that I'm still working through and processing at 23 years old, almost a decade later. So imagine just for a second how disastrous it would be for a police officer with no training and a racist ideology that's embedded in the police force, how that could change the way a Black child views themselves for years to come. Even just for one day they're there or one week that police officer is there. Just imagine.